Good morning. This is Father Stephen Kelly from St. John's Church in Detroit, and we're continuing our series of daily morning meditations where we generally look at one or another of the lessons that are appointed for morning or evening prayer, what is known as the daily office lectionary. And we're continuing our way through St. Matthew's Gospel. We're now in the 15th chapter of that Gospel. And today we have a couple of quick things that I wanted to address. One actually falls as a reading on Sunday during the course of the year, and so we do talk about that particular lesson, that first part of today's lesson, but I'll just touch on it briefly. But I want to talk about the next section that comes that doesn't actually come up at the Sunday Holy Communion service. Beginning at verse 21 in the 15th chapter of Matthew's Gospel, we hear about the healing of the daughter of the Canaanite woman. Now, what is it that's so interesting about this particular part of the story is that, first of all, remember that a Canaanite is an outsider. She is not a Jew. She's not a member of the original covenant. And Jesus does say in today's lesson that he's come first and foremost primarily to the house of Israel, to minister to those who are members of the original covenant. And so we end up having this very interesting interaction. She came and worshipped him, saying, "Lord, help me." But he answered and said, "It's not meet to take the children's bread and to cast it to dogs." And she saith, "Truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table." Then Jesus answered and said unto her, "O woman, great is thy faith, be it unto thee even as thou wilt." And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. And generally when this comes up on the Sunday Holy Communion service, we do talk about the idea of the humility of being able to place ourselves at the feet of Jesus, to ask for this miracle, and yet she is humble enough to allow for, even as Jesus seems to be comparing her to a dog, and he doesn't mean that to disparage her. He's just using an example that the meat is intended for those who are at the banquet, and she says, "Look, even the dogs get the scraps. Can I at least get the scraps for my daughter?" She's willing to take that position of humility. And Jesus is greatly impressed by her faith and by her faithfulness that Jesus can, in fact, heal her daughter. And so that's why I want to move into the next section, which then goes on to talk more about healing. "And Jesus departed from thence and came nigh unto the Sea of Galilee, and went up into a mountain and sat down there. And great multitudes came unto him, having with them those that were lame, blind, dumb, maimed, and many others, and cast them down at Jesus' feet. And he healed them, insomuch that the multitude wondered when they saw the dumb to speak, the maimed to be whole, the lame to walk, and the blind to see. And they glorified the God of Israel." The reason why I wanted to bring up that particular point was because we have something really exciting coming up on Sunday. We don't usually look a couple of days ahead on our morning meditation, but today being Friday morning, we start thinking about our weekend. We have a very special thing coming up on Sunday morning, and that is that we have a red letter day. We have a holy day that can bump the readings after Trinity, and that is the feast of St. Luke. St. Luke is an evangelist. He is one of the writers of one of the Gospels, but we also know that he is a physician. That is what's told to us. He also wrote Acts of the Apostles. Remember, we went through that back in May and June. But so we have that wonderful background of St. Luke himself. And this Sunday is his feast day. October 18th is the feast of St. Luke the Evangelist. And because he is an apostle and it is a primary feast day, and because it's not Advent or Lent or Eastertide, his day can be kept in the place of the Sunday lessons. So on Sunday, when you come to St. John's, you will be able to see the red vestments, which I don't think we've had out on a Sunday since Pentecost. And we will also have the opportunity to talk a little bit about who St. Luke is historically, but more importantly, who he is in the context of the faith of the church and the promotion of the gospel of Jesus Christ. But one of the things, of course, that's very important about St. Luke and for what he's remembered is the healing ministry. Luke's gospel has many more accounts than the other gospels of healing, because that is obviously one of the ways that is near and dear to Luke's heart about Jesus' public ministry, because he himself is in the healing ministry as a physician. And so we will talk also on Sunday about the ministry of healing and the fact that God does still heal. Now, I wish that I could promise you that every prayer we have for healing will be answered in the exact way that we want it to be answered. as good and as holy and as godly as the request may be. But we do know that God does work at his own decision. He does work miracles and miracles of healing. And so we'll talk a little bit about that on Sunday as well. And again, today's gospel lesson, which is actually from Matthew's gospel, reminds us of the importance of that reality, that God does in fact still heal, and that Jesus Christ, a big primary part of who he was as the second person of the Holy Trinity walking on earth, he's still that person now, but walking here on earth, was to make people whole and well. And that became another way that he was able to preach the good news of God and to bring people back into relationship with God, what will be the new covenant sealed in his own blood. I hope you have a wonderful Friday. If you have healing needs, please do pray and ask God for that. And of course, I hope I will see you on Sunday morning as well. Have a blessed Friday.